Hey, what's up guys? This is the BJJ Restoration Project. This is Michael Coe coming at you at my clinic, Movement IQ Physical Therapy. So this video is about 2 weeks late. Sorry about that. Life kind of gets a little hectic. But I wanted to go off of a request I got from the group. I believe Jen did it. Asked if what's something you can do to get that pelvic walking warm-up to be a little faster. I don't know if you guys already had your race, but if you didn't, it's something we can do. All right, so I mentioned before, so the warm-up I'm talking about, that was mentioned in other videos, is gonna be this walking forward on your butt, all right? This question was, how can you do to be able to do faster, right? And I mentioned also that in my last video that I give that exercise to my patients. So I'm gonna change that a little bit. I don't give that particular exercise to my patients, I give a variation to it, and I call it pelvic walking. So pelvic walking, this is what the exercise I usually give people, is gonna be this. From here, instead of lifting the legs up into the air, I'm gonna lift up this whole leg one at a time. Other leg stays down on the ground, heel pushes into the ground. This leg's gonna lift up with the foot and the butt come forward, then you repeat on the other side, right? And I want this to be more replicating walking. So if you look at anyone who walks or runs, their arms do the opposite motion as their pelvis does. So if my right leg and hip go forward, my left shoulder needs to go forward, right? And so you do this reciprocal motion. The opposite occurs up here compared to down in your pelvis, right? So you're gonna do an opposite motion, you do a rotation, and you walk forward. So I call that pelvic walking. The warm-up video that was shown from before, I'd probably call that more like pelvic running, all right? Walking is an easier form of running, all right? So if you can't do the pelvic running, or that weird warm-up with your feet up into the air, just because maybe you don't have the core stability, you don't have the leg flexibility or the hip flexibility to be able to keep your legs up there or that coordination, then what you can do is bring it down a little bit and then try to make it a little bit easier, try to get your body to get used to that motion. So I can't expect anyone to be able to run very well if their walking looks like crap, right? So you gotta get good at walking first before you get good at running. So same thing, I can't expect you just to, if you've never done anything similar to, just to have your feet up into the air and then do that warm up and get really good at it without it either, cause you to split open your gut or just making it too hard, right? So bring it down a little bit, try and do that pelvic walking is one thing. Now, in order for that pelvic walking to even be possible, what has to happen as this pelvis lifts up, it has to come up towards your ribs. So this right side, if I do this right side and I bring that right leg forward, your lumbar spine and your lower thoracic spine needs to have the ability to compress on that right side and come together. And at the same time, this left side actually has to elongate. So you have this opposite motion going on there too. As one side compresses, the other side has to elongate. And then you repeat and you go back and forth. So if you are someone who has a lot of tightness within different abdominal muscles or muscles around the back, like your quadratus lumborum, maybe your lats, it's gonna be very difficult. Not because you don't have the coordination or strength, but maybe you don't have the tissue elasticity or you don't have the joint mobility to be able to do it. So if that's more of your issue, then you want to make sure that your spine has the mobility first before you really start going buck wild with that warm-up. So one way you can do it is what I call the side lying pelvic clock. So if I'm lying on my side, I need to see how well this pelvis goes up towards that rib, and also I need to see how well that pelvis goes down away from that rib and elongates. So I need to practice that and see if that gets really good. All right? So now I'm not having it compress my body weight and gravity, and I'm just looking at how well those muscles in the joints allow you to move. So some of you need to get good at this first before I expect you to do any pelvic walking or pelvic running there, all right? So one common exercise I'll give to other people doing this is I have them go up and down, and then at that point I'll tell them to pretend there's a clock up in the ceiling. The side of the hip's going to go up towards your head, pretend that is going up towards 12 o'clock. And then if I go down towards my feet at 6 o'clock, and going back and forth. But then I want you to have mobility and control in 3 dimensions in every direction. So then I'll have you do other weird angles. So if I go 12 and this is 6, I also want you to be able to go really good at 1 o'clock. And then maybe 7 o'clock, right? I want you to be good at going 3 o'clock forward, 9 o'clock backwards, right? And actually I'll tell them to go in every single number of the clock to be able to make sure that you have the neuromuscular control in every angle and every plane to be able to have good spine protection, tissue elasticity, disc mobility, joint mobility, anything you want to say. So try those out if you can. If you cannot do the pelvic running, try the pelvic walking. Pelvic walking is still hard because you just don't have the range of motion with your spine. Lay on your side and do that side lying pelvic clock. If you have any questions more specifically how to do any of those exercises, just go ahead and comment below. You can check out my YouTube page. If you want to know what that YouTube page is, hit me up and I'll send you the link what that is. Okay, guys? All right, thanks.